Hey y'all. All right, so boom, real quick. Well, I say real quick every time I end up making long videos. So um, I'm not even gonna say real quick, but just uh, I wanted to touch on something. Okay, so I um I shared a video uh, yesterday or the day before yesterday, and in that video I was talking about being more spiritual, and the one thing that I regret in that, not necessarily regret, but would change or would modify in that video is that I was using the word spiritual over and over again, which does apply, but I should have used the word spiritual and eternal together each time because I was talking about eternal things, right? But like, all right, so in that video, I was making the statement that the work was already done. It's the work of the cross, the death of Christ, the burial and the resurrection of Christ. That's what I was referring to when I was talking about the work being done. But I talked briefly with someone about it, and uh, and I had also shared with them months ago, like way back in like February, like portions of my journey and some of the things that I was thinking and some of the things that I was feeling. And they kind of took it out of context, but it wasn't the heinous way or the deceptive way that people take things out of context. It was more of like a sincere question, because it was he was asking about something about me. There was a lot of subjectivity involved, so I get it. But so he was asking like, so are you saying that because you feel like you put in work before that you can just like rest on your laurels now? He didn't quite say it like that, but that's what he was alluding to. Like basically, because of the work that you put in the past, you don't have to do anything now. And I wasn't talking about me at all. I wasn't talking about uh like that kind of work. Like I'm not telling everybody to quit their jobs. You know what I mean? Even if I don't have a 9 to 5, which I'm sure people find fault with, but I have an opinion on that as well. How I ended up being in the position that I'm in, where I don't have to work a 9 to 5. That we'll get into that sometime, but um, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? And uh, I wasn't trying to. And you know what? I will say that. Um, Or maybe I shouldn't say that. Well, no, I'll say that. I'll be straight up. I will say that in my mind, still to this day, I feel like there's a whole lot of flowers out there that I never got. You know what I mean? For work that I was putting in while people were judging me, saying that I wasn't willing to put in the work. While people were saying that I'm not willing to do the work, I was doing the work. I will say that when there's a certain amount of clamor or popularity surrounding you, your enemies do have an effect, and sometimes unintentionally they can perpetuate you as opposed to destroying you, because the way they attack you, they actually put you in front of more people. And then once you give me your audience, even if you're my enemy, you give me your audience, I can win them too. So you actually, that exposure that you bring to me can actually benefit me. And I will say that my enemies unintentionally did do that. However, it's also true that people don't attack. If you're really a loser, people ain't gonna be attacking you. People don't attack losers. People, if I wasn't giving them something to attack in the first place, which was the work that I was doing, they would have left me alone. If I would have just rolled off into the sunset and never got on social media again, and just eventually they would have left me alone. They had to have something, and that was what I was doing. And because of how I perceived my situation at the time, it seemed to me that just the obvious like upfront approach wasn't available to me. I kind of felt like I had to go through other means. I had to kind of slip through the back door. You know what I mean? And that's how I was playing it. Like, okay. So I started to use a lot of strategy, and my strategy was very there was a lot of thought involved in that strategy. You know, it was so you know, um, there's a saying that the best kind of marketing is marketing that doesn't seem like marketing. And that was my approach. You know what I mean? Not saying I was on no like uh, Ryan Garcia type time. Shout out, congratulations to Ryan Garcia, by the way, winning that fight, man. That impressed me, bro. Good job, Ryan. Even with the PEDs, man. If that is true, you boxed well enough to impress me. PEDs don't make you a good boxer, but uh, I wasn't pretending when I was trying to like I was going crazy in my own apartment. I had more manic spells than I ever put online. You know what I mean? The ones online are just the ones that y'all saw. But I was in my own apartment going crazy in silence. You know what I mean? Without showing it to the world. So I was not pretending to be crazy. And mental health is not something that one should play with and pretend to be crazy. That's such a foolish. I would never do that. I wasn't pretending to be crazy, right? My behavior at times when I was in a manic state was I was willing to be a lot more outlandish because I felt like, oh, y'all want to play? All right, let's play. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't pretending to be. I wasn't pretending to have psychosis. I wasn't pretending to be depressed. I wasn't pretending to be anxious. I wasn't pretending to be in a clinically manic state. None of that. I wasn't pretending. Um, but still, there was a lot of strategy involved, and it became so strategic and so effective. Again, the best kind of marketing is marketing that doesn't seem like marketing. And I was so good at that. I'm not boasting and like I was the man type thing. This ain't that. I'm just saying that I was good at it. I was very good at it. And I was so good at it that there was a narrative surrounding me that I needed to be more intentional. Like I was so intentional and so strategic in such a clever way that the people looking at me were arguing that uh, I needed to be more strategic or more intentional. You know, I read this study, these scientists or whatever, they were studying uh, the nature of a bipedal species and how we propel ourselves, how we move, how we walk. Bipedal, any animal that walks on two legs, any species that walks on two legs. And so they were looking at humans and how we walk on two legs. And they studied humans and us walking on two legs. They put all this thought into it and watched it in slow motion and frame by frame and all this, whatever they did. And you know what they came up with? What they decided eventually was that humans, when we walk on two legs, basically, when we walk, it's less of a walk like a four-legged animal would uh, uh, do or embark upon or engage in, but it's more of a series of controlled falls. Think about that, because every time we pick up one leg to put down the other leg, we're balancing on one foot, even if it's just for a second. We're balancing on one foot, and then we fall to the next foot. It doesn't look like a fall because it's a controlled fall, but it's a series of controlled falls, right? And that's kind of what it looked like to people. What I was doing, it just seems like a bunch of happy mistakes. You know what I mean? Like everything that I was doing, the way to kind of sweep under the rug the work that I was doing was to just make it look like a bunch of mistakes, and they were just like lucky mistakes. That like I was just the luckiest man on the planet, but it was strategic. And I really can't think of I can think of some examples, but see, if I was to give examples, what y'all would do is y'all would take that mindset that I had at the time and apply it to me now and try to make it that I'm preaching the gospel as some kind of strategic advantage. That's demonic. That's what the devil does. He takes everything that's light and he'll figure out a way to make it look like it's dark. But basically, I will give you an example. Right? All right, that's a good example. My Twitter account, which is why I don't even tweet like that anymore. And I may do it sometimes in the future, but now I'm more concerned with getting this message across and you being obsessed with my Twitter account. So I don't necessarily tweet that way anymore. But my Twitter account, right? If you look at it, it's different. Most people, when they tweet a statement, a declarative statement. And sometimes it takes more than one tweet uh, because you have a lot to say. But even then, when you use multiple tweets, each tweet is still a declarative statement. It's a declarative statement followed by another declarative statement, and that's the way we use Twitter. And it's interesting to use Twitter because we like to pick each other's brains. You know what I mean? So especially when it comes to like celebrities, you like to know what people are thinking, right? So that's how Twitter usually works. But I thought to myself, there's a better way, because Twitter, as interesting as it is, it doesn't get people addicted to it the way Snapchat and 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 Instagram and all these other platforms do. And I'm literally staring at, I'm just looking at the difference. Instagram, yeah, you could say it's because it's videos and not just statements, but that's not really that, because you can entertain someone with your words. So just to think of it as it's just um, uh, videos and one is words, so one's going to be more addictive. That's not what it is. What I realized was that because of our short attention span, which I think now scientists say is about 8 seconds, the formula for Instagram and uh, Snapchat and whatever, Pinterest or whatever. And it's also true with Twitter, but with Twitter, it won't keep you on one page. It keeps you focused on several different people, right? But it's our nature to want to continuously be in motion. What do you notice about Instagram? What are you doing when you're on Instagram? When you're on Instagram, you're like this. Swipe, 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 swipe. Scroll, 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 scroll. When you're on Snapchat, scroll, scroll, scroll. To the point where when you really get addicted, I've been addicted to Instagram before. When you really get addicted, you have a certain like, all right, so like I was kind of like music slash promiscuous looking women slash uh, transgender women and gay boys slash sometimes some inspirational slash art, right? So I'm going through it, just scrolling, looking for something to grab my attention, constantly swiping, right? That's what we do. We swipe, and that swipe gets you engaged because it's like an activity that you do. Some of y'all probably go to sleep and be doing like this in your sleep because it's such an activity. So I realized I could take that concept and I could apply it to Twitter in my own way. How do I do that? What I decided to do was I decided to speak on Twitter. Instead of making each tweet a declarative statement, I made each tweet simply a fragment of a sentence, and sometimes a fragment of a sentence. So when you say this simple thing that could have taken you five sentences to say on Twitter, when you're reading that, you're having to scroll. And then the branding comes in, because in every other thing that we do on social media, what do? When you're scrolling? Your finger's going up, you're swiping up. On Twitter, if you want to read my tweets, you have to go all the way down to the beginning and then swipe down. So it's engaging the same thing in the brain, that swiping motion, but now here you're swiping down. I just took that same concept, but now I branded it. So now this is peculiar. This thing here, over here, it's like a world that you're entering into. Over in this world, when you open it and you see that graffiti named Joe, and then you see full circle, and this is a world that I'm now in. And in this world, I'm scrolling down to read these tweets. It was very strategic. And it was like that in several, that's just one easy example. Like, there's so many different ways that I was trying to be strategic. I was putting in the work, and I was so intentional that people thought I wasn't being intentional. And then the argument became, well, he's not willing to put in the work, but you're talking about the guy. You're talking about this guy who you shouldn't even know who he is if he wasn't putting in the work. You can't give all the credit to him. But I'm not making that argument. Like that's not even my pursuit. That's my point. That's not my pursuit. So When he was trying to apply it to, is it because you're saying the work that you already did? In my opinion, if I do become a millionaire, it's going to be because of work that I already did. You know, when I decide to go out and get a 9 to 5, it's not going to be in the pursuit of being a millionaire. Being taken care of, being financially comfortable. That's great, but my pursuit now is not to try to go out and be a billionaire. You know what I mean? So if I do come across something and it's beneficial to me, it will be because of the work that I already did. Because I was working, y'all. You can't take that from me. You can't take that from me. I don't care how easy it is that he's just recording songs. That's easy. Well, you write a hit song, then you make a hit song. If it's that easy, there's artists out there who have engines behind them, whole labels spending millions and millions and millions of dollars, and in 3 years you don't even know where that artist is anymore. You forgot that you forgot the artist. You don't even remember that you forgot the artist. They're just gone, and they got all this huge engine behind them. I've been around for 10 years now, and I don't want it to sound like I'm boasting. My point is, it will be because of work that I put in the past. And if I never get my flowers for that, in my mind, I'm like, I still did it. I still did it. You know, not being willing to acknowledge someone's effort is not the same thing as that person not having made any. Okay. Uh, but my point is, that's not what I was saying. That's what he thought I was saying. And so I understand that. So if that gets taken out of context and gets spun, it doesn't seem maliciously done. But it's a, when it comes to like biblical things that I say and they get taken out of context, that to me, there's only two reasons for that. Either one, they're being deceptive and they're trying to take what I'm saying out of context, or two, they simply have no understanding. They have no understanding of scripture. And when you have no understanding, you will misunderstand the things that I'm saying. I said one time somebody had a problem. One thing that I tweeted about the fear of death, or death, there's peace even in the fear of death. And death, I tweeted that. And these like, they're like pseudo Christians, like, you know, you have like pseudo science and pseudo psychology. It's like pseudo Christianity, where it's like this, it ain't even real science. It's not real psychology. It's not real Christianity. It's like they have these words now that they use. You know what I mean? Like we latch on to word. Breakthrough is the new word. Monitoring spirits is the new. What is a monitoring spirit? The whole spirit world is the monitoring spirit. I don't understand that. Like, angels are watching me right now, monitoring everything that I do. The same way demons want to see everything that I'm doing. In Hebrews chapter 12, we read about chapter 11, we read about all these pillars of faith from old times who have died and passed away. And the first chapter, I believe, of Hebrews, first verse of Hebrews chapter 12, we don't know. I don't know who wrote. No one knows the writer of. There's speculation as to which one of the apostles wrote the book of Hebrews, but we don't actually know the writer. We don't know if it was Paul or Peter, or like we know the other books. But whoever wrote the book of Hebrews, he says, seeing as though we are encompassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, we are surrounded by witnesses. Surrounded by witnesses. Now, if you're saying, if there's something that you mean when you say monitoring spirit, like something specific, like a demon or something monitoring everything that you do, demons, Satan wants to know everything you're doing anyway. He's just not omniscient, which is why he has his demons working for him. You know what I mean? But I don't understand exactly what you mean. But my point is, we latch on to these things. Like now it's the new word, the new thing, monitoring spirits, or breakthrough is the word. The breakthrough is not in the Bible. And I'm sure we could find something that we could say means breakthrough, but why not use that? You know what I'm saying? It's like we latch onto these things, but it's like people have no real understanding. It's just like a social media understanding where we all get together in this community and start using certain words. It's like a social media understanding. But my point is, I said something about death and the fear of death. And people say, that's speaking death into your life. That's speaking death into, what are you talking about? Nobody's speaking death. Acknowledging that this body is going to die is not an evil thing. Even scripture says, it is appointed unto man once to die. And after this, the judgment. Is the Bible speaking death in your life by acknowledging that it is appointed unto every man once to die, and after this, the judgment? Scripture says, "O death, where's your sting? O grave, where is your victory?" I'm not afraid. What are you talking about when you say they're speaking death over you? Y'all are making the concept of death something to be feared. To say that somebody's speaking death over you is to say, don't speak that over me. Death, that's evil. Paul said, "For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain." I'm not saying we're supposed to commit suicide, and I'll take that out of context. And I'm not saying we're supposed to be praying to die every day. I'm saying that death is not supposed to be something that we're like, he's speaking death. I mean, that's y'all. That's that pseudo Christianity, right? But my point is, I wasn't talking about work. If you get up and I actually I applaud, I look up to people who go. I was in the bank the other day, and this one man said that he was going through hard times, so he had 2 full-time jobs. He was almost 60 years old. It's like he got 2 full-time jobs. I applaud that. You know what I mean? I'm not telling everybody to do. You know what I mean? I get how you judge me. You know what I mean? The way God provided for me in this season that I'm in right now was simply by telling the truth. You know, I went to a judge when the lawyer said, "You're not going to get disability. We won't be able to win this for you. You're not going to be able to get Social Security disability. We have to drop you." Huffman and Huffman wouldn't even take my case, and then whoever I used, they dropped me. So you know what I did? I went to the hearing myself, and before the judge pleaded my case and won my Social Security. And all I did was share what I've been sharing with y'all on social media for this whole time. This is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? This is what I think is going on around me. This is how it affects me. This is how it affects me at work. You know what I mean? I was going to work and I was getting into it with people. And it ain't that I don't want to. Anybody who's ever worked, they will say, "That dude work. That boy work. He ain't afraid of no work." But socially, I was like, I couldn't hold a job, man. You know what I'm saying? And I got my Social Security simply by going and telling the truth. I didn't have to lie or anything. God blessed me with that provision, saying, "Look, I know you need this help right now. Okay, look, all you got to do is just tell the truth." And that's all I did. And I won my case. When my lawyers dropped me and said it couldn't be won, I went to the hearing, represented myself, and won it. And I had a monitoring angel right there next to me. But so my point is, I'm not saying that kind of work. I'm talking about the work that Christ did on the cross, y'all. We have blessed assurance. Blessed assurance. Blessed assurance. And look, and if you out there, you getting you working your job every day, good job. I'm not talking about that kind of work, y'all. So please don't misunderstand that. 23 minutes, man, I'll be talking forever, man. And I love y'all. Be encouraged. I love you. Be encouraged, right? The victory is yours. It's already won. It's already won. Oh, death, where is your sting? Oh, grave, where is your victory? Right? I love y'all.